I'm Rachel. This is Let Me in the Library, and we're going to do a dramatic reading of my 1-star review of Lore by Alexandra Bracken. To be fair, I gave this book 1.5 stars, but to be honest, I didn't like it, so it's really a lot closer to a 1 star. Let's get into it. This is the description of Lore. Every 7 years, the Agon begins. As punishment for a past rebellion, 9 Greek gods are forced to walk the earth as mortals, hunted by the descendants of ancient bloodlines, all eager to kill a god and seize their divine power and immortality. Long ago, Laura Perseus fled that brutal world in the wake of her family's sadistic murder by a rival line, turning her back on the hunt's promises of eternal glory. For years, she's pushed away any thought of revenge against the man, now a god, responsible for their deaths. Yet, as the next dawn hunts over New York City, 2 participants seek out her help. Castor, a childhood friend of Lore, believed long dead, and a gravely wounded Athena, among the last of the original gods. The goddess offers an alliance against their mutual enemy, and at last, a way for Lore to leave the Agon behind forever. But Lore's decision to bind her fate to Athena's and rejoin the hunt will come at a deadly cost, and still may not be enough to stop the rise of a new god with the power to bring humanity to its knees. This is a 1-star review that Rachel from Let Me in the Library wrote, which contains spoilers. 1.5 stars. I fell asleep reading the first half of this book, and were it not for the Whiners Book Club discussion, I'd have let it be. But no, I'm a good whiner. So I went back so I could understand and participate in the discussion. Thank goodness I did, so I could properly rip this book to shreds. This book was so bad. The characters have no personality. The plot must have been through an old western because it was riddled with holes. The romance, bland. The feminism, white. The logic in this book, non-existent. The badass female protagonist who will protect New York. Gag me. This is like Percy Jackson if it wasn't fun or interesting. The premise alone seems intriguing, but the execution is horrible. The characters' motivations are all over the place. Everyone speaks like they're in a Disney Channel TV series trying to get laughs every 10 seconds while maintaining this dark, brooding, God, you will never understand me persona. I hated pretty much everyone by the end of the book. The antagonists make no sense either, having people pledge loyalty to them and then just killing them. A waste of immortality and my time because it serves no purpose and I have to keep reading about it despite the complete lack of reasoning behind it. You're literally cutting down your own army to be menacing to a bunch of teenagers with no god powers. Okay? Let's lay down the characters. Lore. Selfish asshole who buys into white feminism that revolves around all men being trash, who doesn't really want to be a god, but will fight and slash at everyone with no real risk of getting hurt because she's so good at fighting and also breaking into places and performing heists. She is from New York and will never let you forget it. Constantly tells everyone that she's from New York, even though they are also all from New York. Savior complex, but only towards New York. Gatekeeps bagels. Castor. Very pale boy who is incredibly muscular with a powerful body, who can heal you up and exists so Lore can have a bland love interest. Makes the exact same horrible joke 3 times across 7 years, and it's just as unfunny as the first time. Miles. The Grover of the group. Also incredibly pale, but he's gay, so that's diversity. Frankly, too good to be chilling with this crowd. For some reason, he's attached to Lore, so she can have a token BFF that will put himself in danger with no reward. Van, the British one, exists to get everyone out of a pickle. He's got the tech and brains, but no real agency. Also gay, so he can again be played as a diversity card, but once again, why does he chill with this crowd? Athena. Yells at everyone and makes Lore bind her fate with Athena, even though there's not a great reason for Athena to do this. One of a few remaining OG gods, and reinforces Lore's bad perception of feminism. Wrath. The false Ares this cycle who Lore wants revenge against for killing her family, is really bad at being a bad guy. Honestly, go to villain school. Gil, an old man Lore saved in the rain from falling down. Honestly, I don't know, but it was a minor incident. And then he gave her a house? and everything he owned after he died. Yeah, don't think too hard about that one. Then there are a bunch of these other characters that aren't really distinct enough to describe, nor do they really have any personality or agency worth talking about. There are internal struggles amongst the group, but for what? Why? I really disliked how shallow the feminism was, and pretty much everything beyond the first hour was just nonsense. The big Medusa story places blame back on women for believing that they're inferior. So little is done to actually topple the patriarchal structure Lore hates so much, and it's actually painful to read. There is a sexual assault that happens which felt very poorly placed because the character didn't seem to process or acknowledge the trauma, so it existed simply to give another reason why men are trash. There's no healing, and it's never mentioned again, so why did it need to be there? The majority of the plot twists felt so predictable and silly that I simply couldn't take anything in the story seriously enough to root for anyone. I can only tolerate so much. The conflicts felt so forced, and the characters' actions don't really make sense. Convenient events that wrap things up are truly eye-roll worthy, and we didn't even touch on how bad the writing was. I honestly couldn't be bothered to write anything else down, except this gem. Lore felt the sun's warmth pass through her as vividly as she felt the slide of a blanket against her skin. So, the sun is hot, so sunlight is warm. Blankets are also warm. Wow. I see what you did there. Well done, Alexandra Bracken. This idea had potential, but I just couldn't see the execution being any worse. I didn't care about anyone or anything that happened, and I really just kept going because I needed closure so I could move the fuck on with my life. This has been Lore, a review by Rachel from Let Me in the Library. If you want to see more content from Rachel from Let Me in the Library, then please do subscribe. And with that, I will see you some other time. Goodbye.